Good morning. How are you?
Very good.
Thanks for dragging all the way to California. We set up some nice weather for you. Samir and I are so thrilled to welcome you to the second annual Berkeley Haas Culture Conference. Thank you. We have an amazing couple of days lined up. We're super excited about the breadth of disciplines and orientations and methodological approaches that people bring to the day. We think that the exchange of ideas among academics from different disciplines and between company practicing managers and academics bears incredible fruit. So we're really excited to see what emerges from our couple of days together. There are a number of goals that we have for the Berkeley Culture Initiative. The first and perhaps most primary from our perspective is to usher in the next generation of culture research and ensure that we're leveraging the latest methodologies and that we're attentive to the challenges and issues that managers are facing out there in the world and incorporating those into our research as well. We also strive to build and engage an ongoing community of scholars and academics and practicing managers who are interested in the topic. And our goal is to support research, both research in academics and also joint research between companies and academics. We have a variety of activities that we've begun to embark on this year. For those of you who were here last year, we've actually made some nice progress. We have our second conference, that's a good sign. We are continuing to facilitate some academic industry collaborations. We've started a newsletter. We have some specific briefings that we're organizing. We have a special issue of a research journal that we're working on right now. And so there are a variety of activities that we've got going. So these goals are really broad-based, and we're interested in your input to ensure that what we create here as a community actually serves you well and advances the field forward, including the exchange and including managers creating a platform, creating a shared research agenda, developing these partnerships, and supporting an ongoing dialogue. We're immensely grateful to our sponsors. We have a number of returning sponsors to the conference. We have some new sponsors. Most of our company participants are coming tomorrow, and so you'll have a chance to interact with them and meet. The room is going to be sort of 2 to 3 times fuller tomorrow, so today is a more leisurely day. But we really are grateful to these organizations who've made this conference possible and the activities of our initiative possible. And we'll continue to thank them throughout the day. I talked a little bit about our follow-up activities. We'll continue to be listing these off as we go through the day. We have a wealth of participants here. Over 80 academics are here, including scholars at all levels of their careers, many new PhD students who are helping us organize things. Please be sure to say hello to them. They got up early this morning and many mornings to help us out. But we're really thrilled that you all are here. And over 90 participating leaders and organizations, which is really an astounding list. So get ready to be pretty tight tomorrow. And so before I hand it over to Samir, who's going to talk about the plan for today, I just wanted to mention one thing that is something that's on a number of our minds. A number of us are connected closely to Kathy Phillips. And Kathy Phillips is struggling in New York right now. And I wanted to just start off the morning by taking a moment to cherish our incredible friend and her family while she's going through a very, very difficult time. If we could just take a moment to think about Kathy, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny, and let me add my welcome to everyone here. We are excited about the next 2 days. Let me tell you a little bit more about what we want to do today. So we have two plenary sessions this morning, one that'll be focused more on empirical papers and one that's more focused on theoretical papers. We're going to do Q&A using technology called Pigeonhole. I'll say more about this in just a second, but I'm going to explain how we're going to take questions and moderate the discussions. Then over lunch, we have table groups assigned and table group leaders assigned to lead a discussion about the theoretical perspectives you'll be hearing about and how we can start to think about those theories in dialogue with one another. Then in the afternoon, we're going to have 3 concurrent research sessions. So you'll each just be going to one of those, and you'll get a chance to go deeper into the papers that are presented there. We'll have then an afternoon plenary session again with 5 different academic talks. There'll be a lot of content you'll be exposed to over the course of the day. So we have another session at the end to try to pull it all together, an integrative session that'll help you think about how all the various pieces might fit together. Then we are super excited because after dinner, we will be having a fireside chat with Steve Kerr, who is the head coach of the Golden State Warriors and who's been really thoughtful about the building of a culture in the context of professional sports, and we think there's some important implications for organizations more broadly. There are going to be breaks and various opportunities for informal networking along the way as well. So our requests of you are, as you think about questions for our speakers, to use the microphones. We'll have mic runners available, but also to use Pigeonhole. So as you hear the presentations, you can, on your device, enter a question you might have, and also upvote other questions you see. I'll say more about that in just a second. The other request we have of you is to kind of break out of the homophilous networks we all tend to build, and to try to meet at least 3 new academics and at least 3 new company leaders over the course of the 2 days. Our marketing team, Laura Counts and Natasha, may approach you about doing an interview. If you'd be willing to do that, we'd really appreciate it. And if there are any suggestions or changes as we go, just let one of us know in real time. So before we dive in, we wanted to kind of do a bit of a warm-up activity. And so you'll see around the room, there are 5 different posters up that correspond to 5 core topics related to culture. So over here we have the topic of linking an organization's internal culture to its external brand. Next to that, we have new methods for studying culture. Next to that, we have understanding and managing national cross-cultural differences. In the back over there, number 4, is building inclusive workplace cultures. And over here, number 5 is assessing and navigating the boundaries between subcultures. So we'd like to ask you in just a minute to stand up and to walk over to the poster that you're most interested in learning about over the course of this conference, and to meet someone at that poster who shares that interest, but whom you don't know. And take a minute to introduce yourself to that person and to talk about what drew you to this conference for the topic you've selected, like inclusive workplace cultures. What are you hoping to learn? And how did you get interested in that topic? And then we're going to ask a couple of you to share what you've discussed. So you can stand up and walk over to your poster now. So is there someone who can tell us about the person you met and what you learned about their interests?
That was fun or interesting?
Is that a hand, Mandy?
Pick the resident extrovert.
Okay, we're supposed to talk to the microphone. Oh, thank you. So we had a mixed group. Some of us knew each other and some of us didn't. So I think it's kind of hard with such a dense network of culture folks to not have a little bit of that, but it was really interesting because one of our group members was talking about, oh, there's this great paper on subculture, and our other group member was like, that was my paper. So it was sort of like, we didn't know each other, but we knew each other's work, which was fun. So we were talking about subcultures and the way it's evolved and sort of the perspective on it, and really, people coming with different takes on it, whether they studied norms specifically, or subcultures are sort of inherent in how they conceptualize it, or you really need to look at subcultures and sort of overall culture. So we had a really good academic conversation where even though we some knew each other, we discovered we know each other even more than we thought we did. So that was
Perfect.
kind of fun.
Thank you, Mandy. Anyone else? Over here.
Chad.
Chad.
So I had a great conversation with Maria from Google, and I learned that she's been there for 7 years, and she's dealing with challenges in terms of how do you leverage organizational culture to move the organization forward and to help solve problems. And one of the interesting questions she posed is, how do you have subcultures and yet them be inclusive cultures? Because if you have subcultures, you have boundaries, and are boundaries not inclusive? And so as we discuss that, it is interesting to hear about also one of Google's principles is to fail quickly so that you can learn faster. And then we talked about the challenges of organization, and as an organization grows larger, is that failure just a dispersed failure to where you start to lose your mission, or is the failure focused failure that really serves the overarching organizational culture's purpose?
Terrific, thank you. Let's maybe hear from one other person before we dive in. Jeff.
I had a nice conversation with one person from Genentech. Is it Beth? Yeah, Beth Kerr. And then also, is it Ariana? Ariana. So one academic, I'm not an academic obviously, but about measuring culture and the ways that Genentech is trying to do so, especially after a merger, and the question of like how much signal are we getting as a proportion of all that counts as culture, which is very spot on to what we're trying to do as academics as well, and thinking about different data sources and how much traction they give us.
Terrific, thank you, Jeff. I think all of these questions that came up in these discussions seem like really important ones, and hopefully we'll get more traction on those over the course of the next 2 days.